Bentornati a Go Red or Go Blue, la rubrica americana politicamente scorrettissima del tempo. Io sono Eleonora Tomassi e questa è una puntata speciale perché vi avevamo promesso un ospite da oltreoceano e quindi è oggi qui con noi all'edicola del tempo in collegamento, e tra l'altro per lui abbiamo messo un cappello speciale, forse avrete capito chi è. Lui è l'ex sindaco di New York, il sindaco delle Torri Gemelle e soprattutto l'ex avvocato di colui che è stato appena eletto 47esimo presidente degli Stati Uniti d'America. È per me un grandissimo onore e anche un altrettanto piacere avere qui Rudolph Giuliani. Mayor, senti, dici subito, è una grandissima emozione, lo sappiamo, ma che aria si respira adesso in America oggi proprio e come ti senti?
The atmosphere is, of course, very joyous, very excited for the future, a feeling of relief that we're being saved from one of the worst periods in our history in terms of, in fact, the worst period of our history in terms of a deprivation of some of our most important human rights like freedom of speech, the phenomenon that never occurred in the United States before, which is the ruling government imprisoning members of the opposition government or the prior government in large numbers. This was something America avoided for all the many years of being the great republic that it was. But given the massive corruption of not just Biden himself, but of the Democratic machine that has been really building this corruption since the beginning of the Obama administration, hundreds of people were put in jail for things that were not criminal because they supported Donald Trump. I happen to be one that they're trying to put in jail for the rest of my life, as well as got a judgment where I was afforded no trial for $145 million. So these kinds of things, when they are as broad as they were here, make people happy, but also relieved that our government of laws will now be reestablished, because for some time we were a government with a two-tier system. The people like Hillary Clinton, who committed a massive number of crimes, destroying a hard drive, destroying 33,000 emails, taking all kinds of money for the Clinton Foundation, or someone like the Bidens who took over $50 million, which Hunter Biden, in his own words, described as 50% for his father. We're past that era now. And Donald Trump will, there's certain words you can use that make it very exciting. He'll restore America. He'll reform America. When he left office, we were in one of the best situations we had ever been in. And most importantly, to all of you in Europe and in Italy, he left a world at peace, and he's being given by the crooked Democrats a world at war, a world that has some possibilities of a world war because of the axes that have been formed with Russia and China and Iran and North Korea. So there's a lot of challenges, but you got an extraordinary man to handle those challenges. So Americans are relieved, like, and they're happy, like very joyous.
Senti, Mayor, però ci devi raccontare la notte elettorale. Quando è che hai saputo che Trump avrebbe vinto? Cosa hai provato?
Well, on election night, I realized he was going to win fairly early in the evening when the early states came in, the ones that he won and the ones that he lost. But in each case, he won by more than was predicted. Sometimes only a mere point or two, sometimes 4 or 5. Where he lost by less than predicted. So I knew when we got to what we call the swing states, the states that decided the election last time, in which he had all been leading until they stopped the vote and then they recounted them and gave them all to Biden. He won all those states. And I knew when I saw him outperforming the polls early that he would win. I did not think we would get it done that night because I always anticipate their cheating, because they do. And they did in a major, major way in 2020. This time, there was a minimum of it in the presidential election. So now officially I knew, and on my television broadcast, I called the election when he won, I believe, Nevada or Arizona, I'm not sure. that's when he got over the 270 electoral votes to win. Now he's way beyond that. And he's won the popular vote by 5 million, which is the most any Republican has done in a very, very long time. So this was, in modern America, where elections are very close, you would not be exaggerating if you called this a landslide. The people made a definite choice that they rejected the corruption and the fecklessness and the inefficiency of the democratic regime, and that they wanted Donald Trump. They also rejected all of the phony, numerous criminal cases that were brought for political reasons. They rendered the real verdict, the verdict of the American people, which is he was not guilty and the Democrats were.
E Mayor, dici, ma qual è la prima cosa che hai detto a Donald Trump appena ha vinto, appena hai avuto modo di parlare con lui?
Congratulations. There's not much to say at a point like that. It's excitement, and I talked to him earlier that day also, and he was getting ready to go vote, and he was, for a man that didn't get to bed until 3 o'clock that morning because he did every last campaign appearance, last one in Michigan at 1 in the morning, and he gave a speech until 2. It wasn't like he went to Michigan and said, hello, I'm going. He gave a real speech. Of course, he won Michigan. He was in very, very good spirits. He was very confident. From his traveling around the country, he could feel the enthusiasm and the mood of the American people. And he did expect a bigger victory. The polls, as always, underestimated him. There's some actual phenomenon to that goes on, but there's also the fact that the media in our country is useless. It reports fiction, by and large, and with regard to Donald Trump, it's a travesty.
E senti, Mayor, in conclusione ci devi dire, perché qui siamo a Roma, siamo a Piazza Colonna, di fronte a Palazzo Chigi, e dobbiamo tranquillizzare i nostri elettori, quindi ci devi dire cosa cambierà adesso per l'Italia. Manda un messaggio a tutti i nostri ascoltatori italiani.
Well, I think this is the dawn of a great relationship between the United States and Italy. Look, it's always been a great relationship, but you have a leader who has essentially a conservative philosophy, and we had a leader that has taken our country to communism. You compare our social programs to the social program of socialist countries, and we're beyond some of them. You look at the practices we use in our courts, and some of them would remind you of a communist or even a Nazi dictatorship. I mean, we do not give people associated with Trump anything close to a fair trial. We charged them with things they didn't do, and we put them in jail. And then we let Democrats get away with $50 million in bribery. So I would say that that's going to end very quickly. And that will be very, very wonderful for the American people, because it's the thing that probably troubled them the most. He will get control over the wasteful spending. The two things, the corruption and the spending, are connected, because they don't pass bills to help people. They pass bills to help themselves. And I'd also want to remind you, because I know there might be a slight difference on Ukraine. The Ukraine government has, for many, many years, been one of the most corrupt in the world. And I happen to have worked there and know it really well. The Ukraine people deserve all the support we can get. But please don't trust Zelensky. Zelensky is the product of one of the worst oligarchs, organized crime oligarchs, Kolomoisky, in Ukraine. Kolomoisky was the bank launderer who laundered money for, well, not just the Bidens, but he did plenty for the Bidens. I have the documents. But he's hidden the crimes of numerous European politicians. And he's taken billions and billions of his own money out of the bank. He was actually exiled from Ukraine. That's pretty hard to do, to get exiled from Ukraine, because it's filled with crooked oligarchs. And Zelensky brought him back because he made Zelensky a millionaire. Zelensky is also quite aware of the bribery of his prior president that involved Joseph Biden. That's Poroshenko, who took a massive bribe to dismiss the case with regard to Burisma. Now, that troubles me. I very much believe that when you give aid to a country, if the country is a crooked country, a lot of that aid does not get where intended. So Ukraine has gotten an enormous amount of money. American money alone, over 160 billion. For example, we've given Israel 160 billion. I have no doubt that not all of it got to where it was intended. And don't count on the American military-industrial complex to be particularly helpful there, because the whole Foreign Corrupt Practices Act had to be passed because of the way disgracefully, the American industrial military complex engages in corruption in countries that are enemies, in countries that are friends. So what I'm saying is, having given them 160 billion without any accountability was not doing the Ukrainian people much good, because the government is a government that cannot be trusted. It couldn't be trusted for 10 years. There's nothing Zelensky did to make it trustworthy. And everything about Zelensky's past, including having become a millionaire at the feet of one of the worst oligarchs in Ukraine, would suggest that you should have put in very strict restraints that money went to the field. Who knows? They might have won the war if the Biden administration did that. But this was the worst of all worlds. We happened to have a president in the White House that had spent years being involved at the highest level of his government and the highest level of the Ukrainian government in corruption. To the people of Italy, all I can tell you is it's a love affair. I love Italy. I love going to Italy. I love my background as an Italian. My grandparents, all four of them, were born in Italy. Two in northern Italy, one around Montecatini, the other in Florence, and then in southern Italy, one right outside of Naples, and the other in the province of Avellino in the town of Gesualdo. I was taught to be an American first. Sound familiar? And this is our new country, my grandfather would always say. But we have in our hearts always Italy, and feel that Italy has given us the Italian culture and the Italian civilization and the religion has given us exceptional qualities that we can use to help society. Family, love, enjoying beauty. I love opera. I love classical music. It's been a very, very big part of my life. I have empathy for people. I have very, very strong principles that I don't bend for expediency. I think I learned that both in an Italian home and an Italian family and with a Catholic education. And you put that all together, and I'm very grateful for being an Italian-American. I change it to American-Italian. Please don't be insulted, but I think it should be that way, because all of us here are Americans, and then we each have our backgrounds that we're proud of, and then we meld them together and we come up with the greatest country on earth. But Italy is my second favorite. So any of you that want to invite me there for an opera or an Italian meal, I mean, I'm ready.
Grazie a Rudy Giuliani e grazie a tutti voi per aver seguito questa rubrica. Donald J. Trump ha vinto e quindi non possiamo che chiudere con fight, fight, fight!